Hello and welcome to this mini tutorial where we're going to break down and build back up the pronunciation of the word information in English. And at the end of the video, I'll give you three really, tips on how to avoid mistakes with this word. So here's the script from the Cambridge Online Dictionary. And the first important thing that we can notice is that this word is divided into 4 syllables. So those blue marks there divide the syllables. Information, 4 syllables. We also get some other useful information from these marks. The mark at the beginning, at the bottom, on the left, before the syllable in, tells us that this is a secondary stress. So this word has 2 stressed syllables, and in is the secondary, so it's the slightly weaker stress. We know that the mark at the top in the middle before the letter M, that tells us that may, the 3rd syllable, is the strongest syllable in this word. So we need to stress in a little bit and we need to stress may a bit more. That means that f and shun, the other 2 syllables, are weaker. And a little clue to the fact that they're weak is that they both contain a schwa sound. We'll look at those sounds in a moment. So hold in your mind 4 syllables and 2 stresses. So repeat after me, this time focusing on syllables and stress. Information. Again, information. Good. I overemphasised the stress a little bit there just to kind of try and drill that in for you. But this is a fun word because of those 2 stresses. So, okay, now let's break it down and look at each of those syllables in turn. Starting with in. This should be fairly straightforward. We've got a short I and then that n, which happens up in the nose. So repeat after me, in. Then we've got another short syllable with that f. So top teeth to bottom lip for the f. And then a schwa. So it's f. F. If you've looked at my weak forms series, you will notice, you'll recognise that f is also the weak way that we say the word for. So that might be familiar to you, f. Then we've got our strongest syllable of the word, may. May. So we've got that m. We need to bring both lips together and there's got to be vibration in the nose for that m. And then we've got one of those double vowels. So there's a bit of a shift of mouth shape, a. A. So putting that together, repeat after me, may. And the last syllable, which in my personal experience tends to be the one that gets mispronounced the most, we've got a sh, sh, like when we're telling someone to be quiet, shh. We've got a very small schwa sound and then that n. So putting it all together, repeat after me, shun. Shun. Now this word ending in nouns is very, very common in English and it's also commonly mispronounced. So for that reason, I've made an entirely separate video focusing on shun endings. I'll put a link in the comments below. If you find that that's an area of difficulty, I would recommend watching that video for lots of extra practice with shun. So building it all back together, repeat after me nice and loud, remembering the 2 stresses. Information. Again, information. So here it is in the form that we would write it, and we're going to now look at 2, possibly 3, depending on how you define it, errors that commonly occur that you can try to avoid. So first of all, if you remember from the script, that first O is actually a schwa sound. So what we don't want to do is overpronounce it and say for. It's too big. F. Remember, information. So try not to overpronounce that first O. And like I said to you a moment ago, the end of the word is where most of the errors occur. So if you recall, it's a sh, shun, information. However, we write it with a T, unhelpfully. So it's very, very common for people to pronounce this word something like information. Tien is what I usually hear, tien, with 2 vowels. Information, perhaps, depending on what your native language might be. There might be other things you do with this, but it's not a T. That's the key thing, it's not a T sound. Go for that sh. And then the vowels. Remember, it was a little schwa in the dictionary script. Information, with the little tiny schwa. But we write it with an I and an O. And so you could be forgiven for wanting to say 2 strong vowel sounds here. Eon is what I've heard from speakers of multiple languages, actually. So they're the tips. Don't overpronounce the O at the beginning. Remember, it's a sh and not a t, and it's a schwa, not an eo. Lots to think about with this word. It's a word we use very commonly. It's a really, really high frequency word, so it's definitely worth getting it right. So one last time for good luck, repeat after me. Information. Fantastic. So if you found that useful, go ahead and hit like, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. And more importantly, leave me a comment below. What's your experience of using this word information, or indeed the other English words that have that shun ending? Was it a surprise for you to learn that we pronounce the end of this word shun? If it was, then believe me, you're not alone. I've had many, many lessons with people who've been quite surprised to find that they've been mispronouncing this word for their entire English-speaking career. That's one of the reasons why I make these videos, because when you see English words written down, often they trick you into thinking that you should pronounce them a different way. And if you haven't focused on pronunciation before very much, it can be a huge surprise sometimes to see the dictionary script and realise how differently the word really should sound. So yeah, leave me a comment if you've had that experience yourself. Thank you very much for watching, and have a lovely day.